Hello and welcome to homework walkthrough video for 6.04b independent practice. Question 1. Yolanda and Trisha. Yolanda and Trisha are running a concession stand at a basketball game. They have made a total of $880. The circle graph shows the percentage of total money that has been made from each type of item sold. So looking at this graph, looks like they made most of their money from drinks, 37% of their money from drinks, 13% of their money from nachos, 10% from candy. Okay, checks out. Makes sense. Which two items earned the least amount of money? Well, it's got to be candy and nachos, right? 10 and 13%. Those are the two smallest. Candy and nachos. How much money did the concession stand earn on pizza? How much did they earn on popcorn and candy? So let's look at the pizza one. How much money did the concession stand earn on pizza? So we know that they made $880 total, right? And 23% of the total is pizza, right? Okay, so 23% of 880 will give us our answer. 23% is how much they make for pizza, 23% of that. Now, here's one strategy we can use. When we see of come right after a percent, that is math vocab, that means times. So 23% of 880 is the same as 23% times 880. But 23% and 23 are different. So if you type 23 times 180, you're not going to get the right answer. No. What is 23% as a normal number? Or 23% as a decimal? Yeah, well, 23 divided by 100 will give us that number. To turn a normal number into a percent, we times by 100. To turn a percent into a normal number, we divide by 100. So 0.23 is the same as 23%, 0.23. So we can times 880 by 0.23 because that's the same as 23%, just in a different form, and that will give us our answer. Times 880. $202.40. How much they made. I don't put the dollar sign because the dollar sign is already there in front of the box, so I do 202.4. And how much money did they earn on popcorn and candy? Popcorn and candy. Ooh, together, popcorn and candy. So let's use a similar strategy to find how much they earned from popcorn and how much they earned from candy. But instead of 23%, now let's do 17% of the total 880. So instead of, let's transition this, instead of, we're going to do times 880. And instead of 17%, let's write that as a normal number, 0.17 times 880. Because 17 divided by 100 is 0.17. To get rid of the percent, you divide by 100. Now let's type this in our calculator. 149.6. 149.6. And candy, 10%. So 10% of 880. That's the same as 10% times 180. Or 0.10. times 880.10 times 880, 88. 10%, 1/10 of 880 is 88. So candy and nachos together made 88 plus 149.6, $237.6. I don't think I have to have the zero after the money. Okay, nice. I don't have to, but you can put the zero after the money. Let's see how many questions do we got? 3. Nice. All right. Pie chart number 2. Kelsey recently earned a part-time job and is trying to budget her money. The circle graph shows how much of her weekly $425 paycheck she plans to spend on various things. So 47, looks like we're missing some of the picture. 47% is savings, 26 is cash, 12 is food, 15 is gas, and all of the circle is $425. These are the different percents. All right, what does Kelsey plan to use about half of her paycheck for? Savings. Right, that's almost half, but just a little bit less than half. How much money does she deposit into her savings account? Is question number 1. So we know the total is $425. That's the total. And I'm gonna do some estimating. I think my answer for how much money goes into the savings account is going to be about $212. It's going to be about 212.5, a little less than. 212.5 is half of 425, right? And savings, she's putting almost half, so it'll be almost $212.5, a little less. So let's do the math and see. So if we're trying to find 47% of 425, when of comes right after a percent, that is math vocab for times. So 47% of 425 is the same as 47% times 425. Now I can't times a percent and a normal number, so I have to turn this percent into a normal number by dividing by 100. 47 divided by 100, 0.47, the decimal form, times 425, and that is 425. 199.75. So almost, right? I guessed that it would be almost 212, a little less than, and it is almost 212. 199.75. $199.75 into her savings account each week. Oh, that's how much she makes a week. Nice. How much more money does Kelsey budget for spending? So cash, food, gas, than depositing in her savings account. Okay, so how much money does she use in cash, food, and gas? So how much money does she not put in her savings account? So we could find how much she spends in cash, how much she spends in food, how much she spends in gas, and add those 3 different categories together. That would be an awesome strategy. But since we know this part of the circle graph, and we're trying to find this part, couldn't we just, oh wait, pause, and we know that all of it, so we know all is 425, and we No, part is 199.7, and we're missing this other part. I think we could just minus the savings deposit amount from the total too to get our answer. Let's see. So 425 minus the savings account money. What would that be? 225.25. So Kelsey puts 199-ish dollars in her savings account, and she puts 225-ish dollars not in her savings account and spends it on cash, food, and gas. So some of her money goes into the savings, some of the money does not go into the savings. This question asked for how much did not go in savings. So we did not need to find each of these missing categories. All we had to do is take away the savings deposit money. You could have found X, Y, and Z and added them together, and you would have still got 225.25. Both legitimate strategies. 225.25. Uh-oh. Right. Let's do that other way to check our work. So let's find the cash amount. So do 0.26, go in a little speed mode, times 425. 0.26 times 425 equals, so that's 110.50. The food is 0.12 instead of 10% times 425 times the whole. 0.12 times 425. It's $51 is spent on food each week. And the gas is 0.15 instead of 15% times the whole. 0.15 times 425. 60.75. Okay, that plus 51 plus 105. Oops, messed up. 63.75 times 51 equals. No, not times. Oh, mistake alert. Bow, bow, bow. Chronic mistakes. You've been diagnosed with mistake syndrome. No, please. Okay. Read the question again. How much more money does Kelsey budget for a cent? Okay. All right. I understand now. So how much more money does she spend? Okay. That's worded confusingly. Um, so she spends this much not in her savings, this much in her savings. What is the difference between these numbers? How much more is spent not in her savings? So then to find the difference of those two parts, I would minus the not savings account money and the savings account money to find the difference, which I'm sure it would say in the hints too. So make sure to read those hints for these questions. Minus, oh no, 225.25 minus 199.75, 25.5. There we go. I bet that's it. Yep, that was it. Okay, question 3. A survey was done at Clayton High School to determine what percentage of students preferred watching a specific sport on TV. The results were 300 students. So they asked 300 of these students Here's the circle graph. Which sport do almost half the students surveyed like to watch? Almost half like to watch football. Okay, so that's pretty close to half. So if this whole circle is 300 students, I would say maybe almost 150, almost half, almost 150 students like football. So this question, how many students surveyed do not like to watch any sports on TV? None, no sports. That's our first question. So there are 300 students total, 300 students total, and 13% of 300 don't like any sports, right? You agree? 13% of 300 don't like to watch any sports. Now, when we see an of right after a percent, when we are finding like a percent of a whole, we can multiply the percent by the whole to get our answer. Now, a percent and a normal number can't be multiplied, but lucky for us, we can turn a percent into a normal number by dividing it by 100. So 13 divided by 100 will turn that percent into a normal number, 0.3, 0.13, not bad, times 300. This will tell us how many students do not like watching any sports. 39 students do not like watching any sports. How many more students, so this is kind of like question 2, we need to find a difference between something. How many more students surveyed prefer to watch football than basketball? So how many more students like football than basketball? How many more? Well, it looks like there's a 12% difference between these, right? 12% more, but I think I need my answer to be in students, not percent. So let's find, there's 2 ways we could do this. Since we know that the difference in percent is 12%, we could find 12% of 300 and get our answer that way. Or we could find what 42% of 300 is, so how many kids like football, and we could find what 30% of 300 is, how many kids like basketball, then subtract these 2 options. Okay, I will show the less efficient option, but you can use this more efficient option as well. Let's find 42% or 0.42 of 300. How many kids like football the most? 0.42 times 300, 126 kids like football. What about basketball? 0.30 instead of 30% of 300. 0.30 times 300 is 90. So what is the difference between football and basketball? How many more students like football than like basketball? 126 minus 90. Oh, 36. Let's do it the more efficient way. 0.12 times 300. 0.12 times 300 also is 36. So you could find the difference in percent, then find what that percent of the whole is, or you could find the percents of the whole and subtract those parts. Either way works. Either way gets us 36. That's how many more students like football than basketball. Yay! All right, if you need more help with this homework, you let me know, and I would love to help you however I can. Good luck.